Morning. Normally we'd be leading off talking about inflation because the title of this video is all about inflation and how this administration has not properly handled the issues. The biggest issue is inflation until just a few moments ago. Just a few moments ago, we got what can only be described, and look, I don't know if it's going to last long term, but we got a quote-unquote miracle on ice. We've got a joint statement from the leaders of the UK, France, Germany, and Italy, and it's going to shock you because, yeah, baby, this is exactly what we've wanted, and it's actually playing out real time right now. I'll explain all that and more after the jump. Remember, it's not financial advice, but I'm always right.
It's your boy Bleed. Everybody listen up. Let's get it. I'm trying to put money in your pocket. That crypto wallet. That bing bada bing ching ching big profit. Even when the market's sideways, I'm looking for ways to get paid. I'm checking my coins around breakfast, then again around bedtime. Bet this, it's not financial advice, but I'm always right. 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 I'm always right.
All right, guys, let's get into it. It is absolutely crazy. Here's what's going on. I want to break this down. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. Let's go. A joint statement was just issued by the leaders of UK, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Japan on the Strait of Hormuz. We condemn in the strongest terms recent attacks by Iran on unarmed commercial vessels in the Gulf, attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations, and the de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iranian forces. We express our deep concern about the escalating conflict. We call on Iran to cease immediately its threats, laying of mines, drone and missile attacks, and other attempts to block the straits to commercial shipping, and to comply with UN Security Council Resolution 2817. Freedom of navigation is a fundamental principle of international law, including under the United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Sea. The effect of Iran's actions will be felt by people in all parts of the world, especially the most vulnerable. Consistent with this resolution, we emphasize that such interference with international shipping and disruption of global energy supply chains constitutes a threat to international peace and security. In this regard, we call for an immediate comprehensive moratorium on attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installation. We express our readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the strait. Do you hear what I'm saying right now? Everybody that Donald Trump was telling for weeks now that you need to help is now saying, you know what? You're right. We need to help. We welcome the International Energy Agency decision to authorize a coordinated release of strategic petroleum reserves. We will take other steps to stabilize energy markets. Now, what did you see immediately after that? You saw a little bit more, because not only that, but Israel says that the U.S. is now planning a 2-week operation to take control of the Strait of Hormuz. This is all part of a large plan. And guys, I don't know if you can, I don't know if you have it in you, but at this point, we should be recognizing that Donald Trump is creating a coalition to go against Iran. And listen, there's a lot of those countries that do not like Iran. There's a lot of those countries that don't like what it represents. Or at least, let me rephrase that. I shouldn't say Iran. Iran is not the problem. The government, the fundamentalist regime that's in charge of Iran, that rules it with a quote-unquote iron fist, they are the problem. So what is the solution? Well, the solution is new leadership. Now, if you guys go back in time, remember, we have fought to add democracy to the agenda everywhere in the Middle East. We've done our absolute best or worst, depending on what side you reside on, in your opinion. And guess what? Here we are right now at another litmus test, if you will, for whether or not this is going to happen. Now, if we remove leadership in Iran, the Iranian people need to vote on what it is that they want next. It may not be democracy. It may not be a government that we want to deal with, but it should be and could be a government that is going to be more conducive to trade, more open to its relationship with other nations. Remember something here. It's very important. Iran is the only Shiite government in all of the Middle East. And as such, they're already an outlier. And historically, they've been a more open society before the fundamentalists took over back in the 70s. So we could be looking at a generational flipping of what's going on in Iran. This has been 50 years in the making. 50 years we've been looking for a path forward after the takeover of Iran. So we might be on the precipice of a big change. But again, it's not the United States' responsibility to choose the government, to force democracy on people. It's just our responsibility, or at least as the world police, if you will. It's our responsibility to make sure that these people can do it themselves. So we'll see how this goes, but it looks pretty good. Also, in other news, this just happened a little while ago. This is reportedly from Saudi Arabia. So there was a massive explosion in Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't know. All the buildings look alike in regions. I mean, and by the way, when I say this, that's not because of where it's located, or it is because of where it's located, but you couldn't tell if a house blew up in Cleveland versus a house blowing up in Detroit versus a house blowing up in Chicago. We all look alike. Like all the houses, all the neighborhoods and stuff like that, they look alike. So we don't know exactly where this is right now, but it is reportedly a massive explosion in Saudi Arabia. That's not a great sign, but let's go look at the crypto market cap for just a little while. This is on the 1 hour. This statement came out just a few short minutes ago. It came out around 8:30 my time. It's 9 o'clock now. So this joint statement came out, and the market was already down to 2.36 trillion. It's already caught up about $10 billion. Also, the Dow Jones, which was down at 45,790, has already clawed back to almost 46,000 on this news. Now that this is 9 o'clock, this is Jane Street o'clock. So stealing from everybody who put their money into crypto or stocks or wherever, that is the lay of the land. That is the norm right now. Don't forget that. Just because Jane Street is being sued, just because they were guilty of what they did with Terra Luna, just because of all that doesn't mean they're not going to stop doing business as usual. And it's not just them, obviously, but as one of the biggest scumbags in all of investing, they're at the top of the list. They're on the top of Jericho's list. If you like Chris Jericho, that is. I mean, I don't know if you do or not, but nonetheless, this is where we are. This is, hopefully we're going to see some movement. We've seen some downward pressure on a little bit of everything today. Tau down 10%, Bitcoin down 2%, Ethereum down 3%. So we're seeing the pressure. We're seeing that downward momentum. We're seeing it play out real time. We're seeing it all over the place. People are going to hedge because they're a little bit nervous, and we'll talk about entry positions, about what we're going to do. Now, let's continue here. U.S. stocks are in a sell-off mode as the Iran war and high inflation loom. And what is that? Inflation comes in at 4%. 4% is a massive number for the United States. It's the highest number in a lot of years, since 2021. The early part of 2021 is the last time we had inflation at such a high level. And it is indicated right now by a lot of people that so far in March, prices are even worse, substantially worse. Remember, when this all started, the spike in inflation was likely due at the end of the month to a spike in gas and oil prices. That created a little bit more inflation than what we wanted. Prices shot up immediately towards the end of February. Well, we're now almost 3 weeks into March, and prices have continued to accelerate. Now, going back, I think our gas prices were around, in my neighborhood, around 269, 279. Not as good as some of the other regions, by the way. In the South, a little bit less expensive. But I am just outside of Chicago. I'm on the Indiana side in Munster, Indiana. And gas prices were around 279, 269. That right now, 409. I saw there was a sale the other day, 399, and then I saw a few people at 359, but those 359s flipped to 399. So maybe we're settling right under a penny under $4, but we are back at these huge highs on gas prices. And I hope that you guys are paying far less. Good morning to everybody. Hope you're doing well. We'll get back to that in just a few moments. But gas prices, oil prices, all of it a little bit elevated right now. So let's move on here. The SEC has approved NASDAQ tokenized securities trading. This is a big day. Tokenized shares will trade alongside standard shares on the same order books with identical tickers, prices, and the same rights and privileges afforded to holders of traditional securities. This means investors will see no functional difference at the surface level. The move will allow participants to opt to have trades in Russell 1000 stocks as well as ETF tracking of the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 settled as tokenized securities rather than through traditional methods. Friend of the channel, Ellie Tourette, noted on X. The mechanics are opt-in. Eligible market participants who wish to settle a trade in tokenized form must select a designated flag upon order entry, communicating their blockchain and digital wallet preferences to the DTC, which will then carry out the tokenization preference. The DTC remains central to the process, operating under a pilot program authorized by a December 25 no action letter. NASDAQ's matching engine and trading procedures remain unchanged. All existing order types, routing strategies, fee schedules, and market surveillance mechanisms apply equally to both tokenized and traditional shares. Now, how does this affect DEV? I have no idea. In fact, I have no idea exactly what's going on there. I know that Tom is working hard for the investments. The partner did not seem to be perturbed by the lack of progress. They anticipated it, they understood it, and by the way, they're not actively trading. So, Now, let me also point this out. We've not received this either, so we know that none of this is happening right now, but NASDAQ will issue an equity trader alert at least 30 calendar days before tokenized trading goes live. This gives market participants time to prepare. So we're fingers crossed, waiting. Hopefully we'll see something happen very, very shortly, very, very soon. Maybe we'll see a completed DevX chain over the next couple of days. The incentive certainly remains right there. Next up, will Bitcoin price hold 70K after Fed Reserve keeps rates unchanged for the second consecutive meeting? This is where you should be nervous, okay? Federal Reserve kept interest rates at the same spot. The policymakers indicated patience as the world is threatened by inflation risks. Not only that, but UK is considering 2 rate increases this year. Not reductions, but increases. Other places are now looking at the same thing. And these forecasts for inflation, revised forecasts increase the inflation rate to 2.7% in 2026, an improvement compared to earlier forecasts. The economy seems to have a more robust, and the GDP is expected to grow by approximately 2.4%. The labor climate is also warming, but unemployment is not decreasing yet. So there are mixed signals in the federal government right now, but really a lot of this comes down to the uncertainty with the Iran-US war. If we can do something to move on from that, then we're in a better position. How do we get into a better position? Coalition. A coalition is now going to move into the Strait of Hormuz, and it's going to assist and aid the United States on protecting vessels navigating through the Strait of Hormuz, which is going to, and by the way, if the other nations are escorting, if they are doing the footwork, if you will, then this allows the United States to do what would be basically the grunt work. That Israel and the United States can just lay down bombs and start bombing and retaliating against any strikes in the region. If there is a strike, you immediately target that location and absolutely wipe it off the map. That's going to be, and that will allow, I think, in my opinion, that's going to allow greater focus on what's been happening. And I think that's really going to end up as a great thing. I think this is the start of the end. This is the real start of the real end of the Iran-U.S. war, or should we call it Iran-Israel war, something like that. By the way, if you didn't watch, I'm not a consumer. I do not watch. I do not engage with this guy, but Nick Fuentes actually came out and said, you know what? It's time for MAGA to actually take your country back. And, he thought, and a lot of people thought, that Donald Trump was that guy, but it turns out Donald Trump is just an Israeli plant. He is just the person. And by the way, look around. Who controls the U.S. government? Why are we at war? Yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard was in the Senate for discussion about what's going on. And if you've ever seen a woman squirm, this was the day to watch Tulsi Gabbard absolutely squirm, because she couldn't answer the simple and basic questions. The simple and basic questions were Donald Trump has said repeatedly that there were nuclear weapons and that we had to be preemptive and we had to do something about it because of the threat of nuclear war with Iran. Tulsi Gabbard then comes out publicly and says, you told us 7 months ago that you had effectively wiped out their nukes and that they did not have nukes. And she said, that is correct. And he said, then why are we there? And she couldn't answer and said that the decision rests entirely with the president. We're unable to make any decisions. Does that sound right to you? Does that sound like democracy in action? It does not, by the way. It does not. But look, this is not an attack on Donald Trump. It doesn't matter who was in charge. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, they all would have done the same thing. They all would have done the same thing. They would have bowed and they would have done whatever it was that Israel wants. I mean, really, that's what happened. They look, who controls the media? Don't answer that. Don't answer that out loud. Who controls the banks? Don't answer that. Don't answer that out loud. Who controls the government? Don't answer that. Don't answer that out loud. Somebody out there that's not American is in charge. So, take it back. Nick Fuentes said, take it back. And of all things, like I have always thought Nick Fuentes, and by the way, I don't have enough because I don't watch his content. I don't know exactly what his positions are on everything. But in this regard, I am shocked that he is saying the things that he's saying right now. Matter of fact, just to be clear, I am shocked that Fox News is saying the things that Fox News is saying right now. I am shocked that News Nation is saying the things that they're saying right now. News Nation, if you guys didn't know, News Nation is one of those in-the-cut MAGA, absolutely cult member of MAGA. And they are right now saying, look, guys, good oil prices are just going to have to be high right now. If you support the president, you shouldn't have a problem paying much higher gas and oil prices. They are warning people and letting people know what to think, okay? And that's the grift here with all of this, is they're letting you know what you should think. They're letting you know how you should act, how you should react. They want you, they're in charge, right? They're in charge of your thoughts. They are in charge of what you think. So they are telling you right now, get nervous, but don't give up. Don't give up. Because you wanted to pay more for gasoline secretly anyway. News Nation, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Whatever happened to OANN? I wonder if they're still around. I haven't heard anything about them in a long, long time. Anyway, back to the stories. So the question is, will Bitcoin hold above 70,000? The answer to that is, I don't know. I don't think so. And it did not. It is now at 69,366, going down into the buy zone, the potential buy zone. And guess what? After going into this buy zone, it got an immediate bounce almost back up. So if you are playing this chart right now, then shout out to you. It looks like you might have won a little bit of the lottery. Now, here's the thing. Ultimately, I think we're going to reverse a little bit here. We're going to start to see a little bit of movement to the positive. Hopefully this is going to be a big move. Now, this does not mean that the rally has started, does not mean that we're not going to go down anymore, does not mean that we haven't screwed this all up. Doesn't mean that Donald Trump has done anything successfully yet, but at least we heard the words, right? At least we heard the words that all of these other nations are going to start stepping in and start helping. Now, let's get some highlights from the FOMC meeting yesterday. They held the rates. Jerome Powell said that shocks resulting from surging oil prices could certainly weigh down the U.S. economy. He noted that near-term inflation riding, but turned down fears of stagflation. The forecast is that we will be making progress on inflation, not as much as we had hoped, but some progress on inflation. One of the key highlights from the FOMC meeting is that the Fed still expects one rate cut this year and another in 2027. CME FedWatch tool shows no rate cut in 2026, with the next cut not expected until mid-2027. Powell claims that the Fed is balancing two goals in a situation where the risks to the labor market are to the downside, which would call for lower rates. Also, the risks to inflation are to the upside, which would call for a Fed rate hike. Now, none of that matters because Jerome Powell only has one more FOMC meeting. FOMC officials projected personal consumption expenditure and core PCE. Their preferred gauge will rise higher at 2.7%. Earlier meetings estimated 2.4 to 2.5. So let's go back to this one more time, and let's just say this. Once this conflict with Iran is done, once we completed whatever it is the goal is, and by the way, it should be fair to say, like, we have no idea what the goal is here. We think, we hope, but we have no idea what the real and ultimate goal is here. But once we get past that, you're going to see an immediate cut of oil prices, which is going to lead to an immediate cut of gas prices, which is going to lead to an immediate cut of food prices. And by the way, for those of you that are not paying attention, vegetable prices are up 40% this month compared to last month. Okay, that's, by the way, January to February, because the February PPI is what came out. Let me say that one more time. Let me clear my throat. It's fruits and vegetable. Fruits and vegetable prices are up 36% from January to February. The one thing that you had, healthy eating, the only thing that you had left, go buy some goddamn vegetables. The only thing that you had left that was inexpensive was buying some broccoli, buying some mushrooms, mixing yourself up like a veggie platter or something like that. You know what? It's up 36% right now. Thanks, Don. So, what do we do with this data, right? What do we do? Well, FOMC also indicated that headline personal consumption is expected to be hot amid rising oil prices. Crude futures climbed 1% to $97. See where they are right now. Where are we right now on oil prices? $96. It's spiking back and forth. This is on the hourly, by the way. Spiking back and forth right now. So this looks like something that could be in like a spike mode. We're sitting right here in this range. What we need to see, really need to see, is going to be a break below the 50 and the 200. And by the way, we are looking at a bearish divergence. If you guys are, you know what? Let's not say that. Let's not say that. I think we're still kind of good there. But right here, we need a break below the 50 and the 200, and we need this to turn red, and then we need to see the trickle back down into that 80 range. That's really what we need to see. That's when we'll start to see the economy. We'll start to see more positive information coming out about the economy right now. We're just looking for a move down on light crude oil. That's what we're hoping for. So that happens, we're going to be in good shape. Or at least we're going to be in recovery mode. Also, for those of you that are trading still, Binance is delisting a group of tokens. April 1st, they're going to delist Arena Z, which is A2Z, Ample Fourth Governance, which is Fourth, Hooked Protocol, which is Hook, IDEX, Loopring, LRC, Neutron, Radiant Capital, and Solar, which is SXP. Failed to meet the exchange's updated listing standards following a periodic review. So they will all be delisted, and it does not say, by the way, specific pairings. It just says that those cryptos will be delisted from Binance. Also, how do you like your insider trading? Because it looks like Arthur Hayes buys ETHFI token just hours before Upbit listing. Coincidence? Arthur Hayes received 132,730 ETH worth 72,000 from Anchorage Digital at 55 cents. Just 5 hours before Upbit announced its KRW market listing. The buy follows Hayes selling 2.15 million ETH for 1 million at 47 cents a month ago, part of a recurring pattern of rotating in and out of the token around key catalysts. ETH spiked from 54 cents to 60 cents within minutes of the announcement and was up 4.7% in 24 hours with total value locked at 5.85 billion. Now, does it, by the way, have you noticed, and this should be a testament to the problem with all of this, and we'll get back to Arthur Hayes in just a moment, but have you noticed that the way we are trending right now is for minor pumps, even for major listings? Upbit is the biggest South Korean exchange, and it is a huge amount of volume. And, you know, basically you got to use Upbit in order to trade in South Korea. There's only like 3 exchanges that you can use. And this is a massive, massive new market, and it only spiked up less than 10%. Let's let that sink in for a second. Less than 10% is what it's worth. You remember when a listing on Binance or a listing on Upbit or a listing on Coinbase or a listing somewhere caused at least 100% spike? Do you remember that? It's crazy. Anyway, back to it. And for the chat here, converted gas prices here in Finland got a tad over $8. Oh my God. Nothing against Jim, but I think crypto was dead. I've been looking at Jasmine. I've been holding Jasmine for 5 years. Yeah. You would be, look, crypto right now is in trouble, and I don't think it's going to get any better until we get some clarity in what's happening in Iran right now. And if nothing else, Bitcoin probably going to run, Ethereum probably going to run, maybe Solana's going to run, maybe XRP is going to run, you know, the things with the ETFs. And by the way, we got 5 days right now, about 5 days before 91 different ETFs are about to be launched. I think they'll all get approved. I think almost every one of them are going to get approved. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Anyway, back to Arthur Hayes. So here it says Hayes received ETH tokens around 72,800 5 hours before the listing. According to the official notice posted on March 19, it was scheduled to begin trading. For context, KRW market listing on Upbit, which is the Korean won, South Korea's largest crypto exchange, is a significant catalyst for any token. It has historically triggered sharp short-term price volatility as Korean retailers pile on. Arthur Hayes and ETH are a month of mixed move. The timing becomes more interesting in the context of Hayes' recent activity. A month ago, Look On Chain observed him transferring 2.15 million tokens. The receipt of those suggests a re-entry into the token. These were moves that he was making that were around very big notices. So somebody is signaling him. This is not the first time Arthur Hayes has moved in and out of ETH tactically. In December of 2025, he dumped Ethereum worth 5.53 million, rotated the proceeds into a bag of DeFi tokens, Pendle, LDO, ENA, and ETH. Today's re-entry suggests the token remains a recurred conviction play in his portfolio. So we'll see whether or not that matters. But Arthur Hayes obviously getting a signal from somebody. Now, speaking of signals, Fear and Greed Index is signaling 24 right now. The ETFs, we had outflows on Ethereum or on Bitcoin for 163 million. We had outflows on Ethereum totaling 55 million. We had outflows on Solana totaling 300,000, and we had inflows on XRP totaling 4.64 million, breaking a streak of 7 days in a row with zero or negative funding on XRP. Now, to our banter bubbles, you can see right here we're having that breakdown. And listen, we're looking for that bounce. We're looking for that move. We're looking for that. We're looking for the market to take off, right? We're looking for that upward momentum. We're looking to get caught up in that wave. We're looking for that to happen right now. Not happening, but we do have Caspa up a little bit on the day and Zebek Network up on the day. Arbitrum, ETH, Knight, BNB, ICP, SWI, Stacks, Near, Algo, Render, Uniswap, Zcash, Tau, Arrow, Bitcoin, Pendle, Avalanche, they're all eating it today. Not having great days at all. Luna Classic down 4.5%. By the way, Luna Classic normally, just like every other one, just kind of ranging, staying out of the limelight, if you will. And Luna Classic having a dump today as well. And XRP not as bad. And by the way, there are some caveats to this. I do want to point that out. I think I should. Dev was down significantly on the day, down again to about 3.3 cents. But I want to point something out to you so that you guys understand at least a little bit about this. They have higher buy volume than sell volume. It's not a lot, but it is more. Yesterday, it was 10,000 to 8,000, but the price was dipping precipitously. And you might be asking yourself, why is that happening? And the answer to that is because it's paired with Ethereum. So when Ethereum is sitting at 2,400 and it pairs down to 2,100, then the pairing, that means that the price of Ethereum dumping super hard is affecting the price of other tokens that are attached to it. So if you're seeing the dip in that ecosystem, that's really what you're witnessing, and that's what you're watching right now. So moving on here, again, we were in a nice uptrend. By the way, if you look at this, and I'm just going to give you kind of an idea here, okay? But if we're in an uptrend, it makes sense that this is where we are, right? I mean, like, we can agree on that. We're going to get into charts in just one second here, but it looks like to me that, this is just a responsible, like, this is a 1 hour chart, okay? Like this is where we are on the 1 hour chart. We're not even at the spot right now of a real breakdown. Let's get rid of that right there. Let's just this right here. Just want to show you guys, we are clearly in an uptrend. And if you were looking at the last move and you were looking at it honestly, I mean, let's pull this out, ladies. Move from the bottom of the pivot to the top of the pivot right there. Look where we are. We're literally exactly where we're supposed to be if we're trading this move, and we're sitting right in the pocket of this next the next break above, or at least it looks like potentially the next break above. And what I mean by that is, so the pivot move right there to the top, then we had a breakdown into our range. Now the question is, do we come back up to 73,685? That's what I would bank on right now and we didn't get that breakout. We got a breakdown, but on the hours right here, we got the death cross forming. Again, I think we're seeing this reversal. We'll probably see this right here. Then we'll come back down, and then that's when we'll start to break above. And by the way, when I do that, let me go back and show you something else which is interesting. And if you look at this right here to this right here, that's probably where we end up going. So let me break this down let me show you where I think this is headed. I think from here, we're probably headed back up for a test at 73.6. Then we're going to have a breakdown, deep breakdown, 66.65, which corresponds with this trend right here. And then that's where we start to come back upwards. And then the next upward trend, somewhere in that 80,000 range. Now, if you're listening to anybody who's telling you that they think that the market is reversing, then they will tell you anywhere between 82,000 and 88,000 seems to be the guess of where Bitcoin is headed next. After 76,000, another surge above seems to be the order of the day. And we're looking at this move right here, and this breakdown right here, and this move right here, and this breakdown right here, and this move right here, and this breakdown right here, and we're seeing it play out over and over and over again. And what does that mean? Well, if we were to, let me see, I have a tool for this too. Where am I is right here. If we just kind of take this and say that that's what it's looking like right now, that's next surge, in the event that we would actually get the next surge, would take us up into that 80,000 range. So we would then be doing it over again. And then that's the one that right there that gets us into that range. So some more surging could be in the cards. I mean, who knows what's going to happen. But so yeah, there we are. Chains by 24-hour DEX volume is now up to 7 billion. So that's a good sign. That's more money coming into the market right now. Yesterday and the days before, we were at 4 to 6 billion. Now we're back up to 7 billion. Could be sell-off related. It is a little bit sell-off related because we were down yesterday and we're down today. So some of that you are seeing as a sign of that. But also the reversal, or at least the feeling of reversal that you were getting over the last bunch of days, that feeling that maybe something was happening here, that we were starting to get some money coming back into the market. Remember, retail always catches up, and sometimes retail just becomes exit liquidity. And in this situation, it looks like the prices spiked and then they became exit liquidity. So not a great sign for the long term for cryptocurrency, but it is what did just happen. So as far as the rest of it goes, so here's the deal. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't already, certainly I would ask that you check this out. And look, I don't make money off of these. I only get like a few bucks here and there anytime that happens. But Believes in Chicago is that's the new style here, baby. Believes in Chicago. So if you want to get yourself a long sleeve in whatever color you want, even if you're fat like this guy, all kinds of different colors, all kinds of different designs for you guys. So certainly go check that out. There's a link around here somewhere. Spreadshirt is the name of the place, so you can get it. There's a link, like I think above on the crawl at the top. So go check that out. And also, Terra Casino is the place to go if you support me. Folks, every day I try to give you the freshest and best information for Terra Luna Classic. And if it has value for you, then the value here is created by you helping me by signing up at terracasino.io. Connect your wallet over here and you can start playing today. And you can trade Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever it is that you want. All of them are accepted here at terracasino.io. My other partner is Terraport.finance. This is the decentralized exchange that I use for all of my Terra Luna Classic trading. That includes buying and selling Juris Protocol, Garuda, anything in this ecosystem. This is where I go. This is how I do it. So sign up today. It helps me out tremendously. All right. So if you want to help me, by the way, also, if you want, I'm giving away, we're doing some giveaways here for Terra Casino. So if you want to be part of that, we're going to start tomorrow. If you have a login, go change your login, use a different email address, whatever. I have a new link down below. If you go sign up at the new link below, you're going to qualify to get free money. And we're going to start giving some of that away tomorrow. And it's going to be brought to you by Terra Casino. So, and it's going to be, I think it's called USDR. That is your test money that you get to use. And then you go try the platform out. If you win, you get to keep it. If you lose, then obviously it goes back to the wolves. Also, I saw this. Roger made a post on TikTok. I haven't seen him. I haven't talked to him in a week and a half or something like that since, the last open show. So I haven't seen him or talked to him, but I did see him post saying that he was back from whatever it was that he was doing on TikTok. So maybe hear from Roger sometime soon. So we'll see what happens there. And otherwise, that's it. This is not financial advice. I'm always right. By the way, my new Bears video had something like 500,000 views. So, damn. All right, guys, that's the show. Thank you so much for tuning in.